The courtroom was buzzing. Reporters lined the benches, cameras flashing, pens scribbling. And at the center of it all, Harrison Ford. He sat at the defense table, calm, collected, his signature smirk barely visible. Across from him, the prosecution's lead attorney, Jonathan Parks, grinned. "Mr. Ford," Parks said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You may be a hero in the movies, but here in this courtroom, you're just another defendant." The courtroom chuckled. Even the judge cracked a smile. Parks folded his arms. "Tell me, do you think you can just charm your way out of a legal battle?" Ford leaned forward slightly. "I don't know," he said coolly. "I guess we'll find out." What happened next? Nobody expected, because Harrison Ford was about to reveal something that would leave the entire courtroom stunned. It all started with a shocking lawsuit. A powerful film studio had accused Ford of breach of contract, claiming he refused to complete a project, costing them millions. Their lawyer, Jonathan Parks, was a ruthless litigator. He had taken down actors, directors, and even producers who thought they were untouchable. And today, he had his sights set on Harrison Ford. "Your Honor," Parks began confidently, "the facts are clear. Mr. Ford signed a contract. He agreed to fulfill certain obligations. Instead, he abandoned the production, leaving my client in financial ruin. This is an open and shut case." He turned to Ford, smirking. "Unless, of course, you think you're above the law." The courtroom chuckled again. The judge looked unimpressed. It seemed like Ford was in trouble. Then, he spoke. Ford exhaled, adjusting his tie. Then, in that classic gravelly voice, he said something that made the entire room sit up. "You know, counselor, I've dealt with a lot of snakes in my time." The room went silent. The judge tilted his head. "Excuse me, Mr. Ford?" Ford smirked. "I mean lawyers." The courtroom erupted. Even the judge let out a chuckle before regaining composure. But Ford wasn't done. "You're saying I walked away from the deal?" He leaned forward. "Well, I have a little surprise for you." With that, he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a document that changed everything. Park's smirk vanished. "What is that?" he asked, suddenly uneasy. Ford slid the paper across the table. "It's the original contract. You might want to read the fine print." The judge picked it up, scanning the pages. His expression changed instantly. "Mr. Parks," the judge said slowly, "do you care to explain this?" Parks hesitated. "Your Honor, we already submitted the contract." Ford interrupted. "No, you submitted a revised version, one that conveniently removed key details." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Ford leaned back in his chair, completely at ease. "You see," he continued, "the original agreement allowed me to walk away if the studio failed to meet its production schedule. And guess what? They did." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Is this true?" Parks swallowed hard. His confidence was gone. The judge turned back to Ford. "Mr. Ford, do you have proof that the studio missed its deadlines?" Ford grinned. "Your Honor, I have everything." Ford's lawyer stood, handing over emails, memos, and official studio documents. "Here's proof," Ford's lawyer said, "that the studio delayed filming by over 6 months. Mr. Ford had every legal right to step away." The judge flipped through the evidence. His frown deepened. "Mr. Parks," he said, his tone sharp, "did your client deliberately alter this contract before submitting it to the court?" Parks' face turned ghost white. "Your Honor, The judge slammed his gavel. "Answer the question," Parks stammered. "It was an oversight." Ford laughed. "Sure, and the Millennium Falcon was just a used spaceship." The courtroom exploded in laughter. Even the judge smiled. "Mr. Ford, I believe you've made your point. The court recessed for an hour. When the judge returned, his decision was final. This court finds that Mr. Ford did not breach his contract, the judge declared. The studio is responsible for the delays, and Mr. Ford acted well within his rights. He turned to Parks. And as for your client, they may want to prepare for a lawsuit of their own. The courtroom was stunned. Parks slumped in his chair. His career? Ruined. Ford? He simply stood up, straightened his jacket, and flashed that classic smirk. As he walked out of the courtroom, someone shouted, "How do you always win, Mr. Ford?" Without missing a beat, Ford replied, "Never tell me the odds." The room erupted. Harrison Ford had turned the tables. A studio tried to trap him. A lawyer tried to humiliate him. But in the end, he had the last laugh. What do you think? Did the studio get what they deserved? Let's discuss in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more legendary stories.